Hello and welcome to another video from 4chan Tutorials. No, in fact, hang on, I'm not redoing that. Look, let me just correct myself. This is the second video of tutorials. Here's the video. We're going to create a REST API using Node.js and Windows Server. Now I'm going to give you a heads up real fast right now. I haven't rehearsed any of this shit. There's no script or anything like that. I'm just going to do it from memory, and after some clever cutting together of some bullshit, hopefully it'll look nice. So what is a REST API? Okay, REST. And that's a good question. One that you would probably most certainly type into Google, or in that case I use DuckDuckGo. Representational state transfer. So we're creating a RESTful interface, okay? What exactly is that? Well, you know how, like, you type in the URL and you go like slash whatever slash things like that. These are called endpoints. Okay, we're going to create like a few of these. So the first step is you want to launch your server. Okay, now don't pay attention to this. Okay, this is mine. You can't have it. Okay, so I got crap running on that, so ignore it. Okay, just ignore it. So go to launch instance. By the way, this requires an Amazon Web Services account. Amazon Web Services. So create that and go into the service right here and just go to EC2. No, there's a lot of crap here. Look at this. Just go to EC2. Ignore everything. And once you click on that, you want to go to instances, because now we're in the EC2 area. Just click instances and it'll come up, and here's your instances. Okay, this is where we were before. Don't touch this. This is mine. Alright, you won't see this. Okay, now launch instance. Okay, now we're going to choose Windows Server. You could choose, hang on, free tier. You could choose Linux if you want, but you won't be able to follow this guide or anything. It'll be completely different. So this is for Windows. I might do one for Linux, I don't know. So anyway, free tier, because we just want just the basics. And you see a whole list of servers right here, Windows and Linux and stuff like that. And so just go down and choose the, oh wow, Windows Server 2016. Alright, well, hell, which one do I choose?
5 minutes later.
So like, which one do I choose is your first question. Well, we're going for Windows, so it eliminates pretty much everything here, except for the Windows servers, of course. Now you see the R2, so that means like version 2.0. Like, check it out. Like, Windows Server 2012 R2 is the second release of Windows Server 2012. Okay, and right here, R2 for 2008 is the second release for 2008, but I don't see 2008 regular here. But anyway, which one should you go for? All right, that's the biggest question. And just choose the latest, Windows Server 2016. I don't see R2 here, maybe because it's not part of the free tier. But anyway, I want to select that. And, we're going to just, we're just going to leave it here. See how it says free tier eligible? It's well, whatever. So, next, configure instance details, just in case if you want to change anything. I have no idea what any of this does. So just click next, and all this stuff is just going to add things for you, just whatever. Add tags. You can do this later, you don't have to add tags right now. Tags just let you add some sort of information that differentiates your instances from one another, like naming it or something. Just whatever, leave it alone. We'll do it later. Okay, your security group determines the security settings for your instance, like firewall rules and stuff like that. we're gonna just have it create a new instance, but you can choose an existing one. You know, it's like they're here, and you can choose multiple ones at the same time as well, if you got multiple rules. So we're just gonna create a new one, and it's gonna name it this, okay? And it's gonna call it this, you know, for its description. Just leave it all alone. Oh, RDP is the remote desktop protocol that you use from Windows to connect to your server for remote desktop capabilities. So leave all that alone. Oh, and this one right here, this number right here, source, and it has all these zeros with the little slashy thing and the zero, means any IP address can connect to your instance and connect to your remote desktop. But there are a few protections in place, and we'll go over those in a minute. We'll go over those later. It's too far ahead. Well, just click review and launch. Don't mess anything up. It's on you if you do. Okay. And so here's a just an overview, as it says here. Review your instance, launch new details. So 2016. Here's the instance type that we have, the security group, and the instance details. You see, so we saw all of this. Okay. We saw all of this, so it should be nothing new to you. We just looked at this like 10 seconds ago. So click launch, and oh god, I hate these pop-up windows. Anyway, okay, so here it is right here. You need a key to connect to your server, and you can choose an existing one that you've used for another server. Okay, so if you've got multiple servers, you can use the same key, but we are going to create one. I don't know why you would want to proceed without a key pair. Experiment with that if you want. So we're going to call this one Node Express Rest. You got to download it. Okay, it won't let you proceed if you don't. So that went to my desktop, I guess. Yeah, there it is. And we just click launch instance, and after a little bit of time there, it tells you that it's now launching. And here we are, our instance is now launching. Congratulations, you've made it past the first part, which is launching the instance. So we'll just wait until this is ready, and then I will show you how to connect to the instance. It's that simple. Okay, once your server is fully up and running and it says the status check is 2 out of 2 checks passed, then you're ready to connect to it. Now, don't mess with any of the settings. Don't touch a fucking thing around here, around nowhere, unless if you know what you're doing. And in which case you still shouldn't. Now, right click on it and go to connect. And download the remote desktop file. This will let you connect to your instance. And also get password. You need this when you open the remote desktop file. Now, click browse. And you want to find the key that we downloaded earlier. Remember, Node Express Rest, that's what we called it. And there it is. Hit decrypt password, and there's your password. So put that on the clipboard, okay? Just copy it. And now close that. Great. You're ready to go to the desktop. So we got a remote desktop file here. We don't need the key anymore, but you should keep it. I'll tell you why. Alright, so we double click on the remote desktop file, hit connect. The password that we just copied, just paste it in right there. Don't type shit. And hit remember my credentials. The reason why you want to the reason why you want to keep this file is in case if you reformat your computer or anything like that, that would get rid of the password out of the cache, out of the the automatic sign-in that we're doing right here. You need this file to get that password back. Remember, you know how we went here, 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 and then you know how we did all this and we hit decrypt password? You need that file to do this, okay? So don't get rid of it, because that one time when, you know, Amazon said, here, download this file, you can't proceed unless you do. Well, that's the reason why. You can only download it once, which means that this file is the only copy that exists. You can't get it back. All right, so don't fuck up. Back it up if you need to. Anyway, click OK. Click yes, and just let it connect. Watch this. The server is going to set itself up. It's going to set up. It's going to go through a small setup process. See right here, look, little bit of settings. Just let it do its thing. Don't interrupt it. You can minimize this if you want. You know. See? You see how that's really fast. Did I choose the most expensive instance? Oh my God! I didn't. No, there's no way I did. There's no freaking way on this earth that I chose the wrong instance. Oh, dear Christ, good. I can't afford it. Anyway, so now that we are here, now in another video, I tried to find Mozilla Firefox, you know, the browser. Here's a shortcut, okay? And this is a good shortcut, because you should know this. I'm going to download Firefox, okay? Watch, just watch. Oh, that's embarrassing. Alright. I'm going to download Firefox, and I'm going to put the frickin' file into the server. Just watch. Okay, so I downloaded it right here, and just do that. Get in there. What? Alright, well apparently, no, can't do it. What the hell? Really? Oh God. We're gonna do it, aren't we? Okay. So I swear to you, it does work. Drag and drop does work. It just didn't want to work at that point in time. So yeah. Anyway. Oh God. Okay. Well. Just get to the Firefox. Just get to it and just download it. Alright. Give me Firefox. Oh God, that was much less painful than it was before. Okay, so we got Firefox, and the reason why I'm showing you this, you know, getting Firefox and stuff like that, is just that so that you know it's possible. And we're going to be using Firefox. Internet Explorer is just, it'll come up with a bunch of freaking pop-ups and shit like that. So don't do it. If you love yourself, don't do it. And so we're going to install Firefox. I like Firefox. I know there's a bunch of other browsers, but I've been using Firefox for like 20 years or something like that, and they've always been good. Alright, so we did it, right? No, please, no. Just don't import anything. I think that's it. And after we get the browser installed, then we'll start installing Node.js and stuff like that. Okay? Just please load up faster. Alright, so we're now at the point where we can start installing Node.js. Okay, so let's do a checklist, okay? Look, you got your server running. It's right here inside you know, the management console. Right here. So we're in this server right now, okay? It's right here. I'm going to maximize the window again. Yeah, bring up the Firefox. Okay, so we're ready. I'm pretty sure this right here is the URL, Node.js.org. So you want to go in there. Okay. And, well, you got two different options here, or other downloads, but really, you got the long-term release, which is guaranteed to be stable and bug-free, which wasn't true a few months ago. Something happened, I don't remember what, but basically that's the gist of it. Or you can go for the latest and greatest, and honestly, I suggest that, because who's going to release software that doesn't work, right? Unless if you're an asshole. Okay, so you click save, and so we save that. Minimize this. Now it's going to save to the default directory, which is the downloads directory. So click the start and go to File Explorer, and then go to Downloads, and there it is, right here, Node.js for 64 bits. 64-bit operating system, because we are on a 64-bit OS. So double click it and install it. Go to Next. You agree to the terms. You just let it go into its default directory. Don't play with it. Okay? You're not doing anything special. You're not hacking the CIA. Okay? Just let it go in its default directory. You've got a bunch of packages here. The Node package manager is especially important because you download Node modules with that crap. Leave it all alone. Don't touch shit. I got a text message. Alright, that's cool. Alright, click next. And now you're here. Click install. And Node.js will install. Now, what is Node.js? If I were asked that over the phone, I would probably pause awkwardly before spilling some answer because it's such a huge thing. And it's a server framework that allows you to run server-side scripting in JavaScript. And you can start a web server with it as well. A whole bunch of things. You can use Node.js for a lot of stuff. No, I'm fine. Stop. Okay, so click Finish once it's done installing. And now you've got Node.js on your computer. Now, hold the Windows key and press R. Okay? Just like that. No, even better. Hold Shift and right-click. Yeah. And you'll see this little option right here appear. That's Shift, right-click. We can open up a command window. And I'm pretty sure that's it. Yeah. So we see that Node.js is installed. Node space -v. This option right here tells us the version. Can you see? Remember that? 8.5.0. So it's here. And also the Node package manager, which allows us to install Node modules. And we'll do that too. Maybe. And it's right there as well. 5.3.0. So there you have it. Node.js is installed. Let's create our REST API interface. How much space do I have left? Oh, plenty. Okay. So we've got a new folder, and we're just going to call this, server. You can call it anything. And we're going to create our JavaScript file that we'll be running our server with. And that will be server. Oh, wait, no. I created a folder. I'm not editing that out. Okay. Create a thing. Oh, the extension. Alright, so we need to turn extensions on. Go to View. Options. Change folder and search options. And you want to show. Go to View. Again. Show. Uncheck this. Hide extensions for known file types and click OK. I don't know why they don't get rid of that shit. It's been like 50 years and they still do that. You can call it anything you want, but I'll just call it server. Okay. Right click on this folder, and you know, with shift right click, and open up your command window here. This is where you gotta, you know, we're gonna be running our server from here, and so you want to have that open. And also open up the JavaScript file, and now that's open, we can now start creating our server. Now you can install any text editor you want, like Notepad++, or if you're some sort of web developer snob bastard, you can put Storm Editor, whatever the hell it's called. You know, just do whatever. What's the other one? Sublime? Yeah, just do whatever you want. And so now we're going to start with the implementation of the Node.js web server REST interface. A REST interface, okay? We're going to create a REST interface using the Express module, okay? So that's what we're going to do. Now, before we start, we need to install the Express module, okay? And so we do that right here in the server directory. Right here, we just type npm install express save. Now, I'll explain what save does in a minute. Just hit enter, and it'll start doing its thing, and you'll see a folder called node modules appear here. And okay, now right here it install, you know, I'm not going to explain how it structures it, that's not important, but all of your modules go in here, and so any other module that you install will also go in here as well. Now the save option right here that we chose, I'll show you what this does. What this does is that it creates a file that keeps track of all of the modules that we've installed. Okay, and they're all updated in this file. And in the future, if you move your server to another machine or something like that, and you want to install all your modules, you don't have to type them all in one at a time right here. You can just use a command to install all your modules from this little file right here, okay? And so it'll take care of it all for you. And in order to do that, just do npm install from within the directory where that file is located, and it'll do all the installs of the modules for you. Now let's get to actually creating the RESTful interface. And so what you want to do is you just type the following, and it's a little bit, we're going to start with the basics. So we're going to do the basic setup here. And so, you know, JavaScript. I'm going to install a text editor. This doesn't parse anything.
5 minutes later.
This is Notepad++. Okay, so for the creation of our server, you know, it's JavaScript. So we have the Express module that we, you know, just installed, and so we can use it like so. And that's it. We got the Express module, and now we have to instantiate that. We call its constructor. Now, typically, we just call the variable app. We call the constructor for the Express module, and then after that, usually it's called HTTP, the object that we create. From the HTTP module, which comes with Node.js. And that's it. So let's look at these three lines. We imported the Express module here. We called its constructor to create instantiation of Express, and then we fed that into the HTTP module here, calling the server method. And there are other ways to do this, but this is the most simplest. Okay. And so our server doesn't do much of anything, but let's run it anyway. And that's it. It doesn't do anything, okay? But we know that the code is correct because it was interpreted properly, as we wanted it to be. So, next. Now, we have to tell the server to listen on a certain port, and that's what we're going to do. So, we are going to call HTTP listen, and we can have it listen on any port we want. But as a web server, you would probably want to have it listen on port 80 because you can have it listen on any port you want, really. But port 80 is for HTTP traffic, in the browser, which is what we're going to be looking at pretty soon. And so we set the port to 80, and we set a callback function. And this callback function will fire when the server is ready, when it's listening. And so let's do that right here. I guess I'll just put this like that, whatever now. And we'll just tell it the server is listening on port 80. And so that's as easy as it gets when setting up a server. And we'll set up some endpoints as well. I'll show you what those are. And so we just save that, and we can just start the server. And, well, I misspelled listening. I mean, there. But the server is now running. It's running on port 80, okay, because we set 80 right here, and we just said it's listening on port 80. And there. So as you can see right here, the server immediately exited when the script was done. There was nothing running, but now there is. And this right here will keep the server running, and as it listens for requests. Now to stop this, to stop the server, hold Control and press C. You might have to do it a few times. Okay, there we go. If you make any changes to your server, you gotta stop it and then start it back up again. And so you saw how I made changes to the little spelling right here. And so, and there, see, the spelling was corrected because I just corrected it and restarted the server. And so there you go. Now let's create an endpoint. Okay, and so there is a very general kind of endpoint, and it fires every single time a request comes into the server. And I'll show you how to do that in a minute. But first, let's just create the most basic endpoint of all. The what do you call it? This endpoint right here. The home page. When you go like Google.com or Amazon.com, this is the root of the website right here. And so we create a function, and this function right here will have two objects. Okay, request and response. Request is the incoming object from an external source, a web browser or a mobile device or somewhere, and to reply back to it, you use this object right here. And I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And so we are going to respond with some text. Yeah, this is the home page, and so this will respond back to the user, and it'll be displayed in their browser. So we're going to do two things. I'm going to start the server. So there we go, it started, and we have our endpoint right here, and we can call this endpoint anything, like this thing, like that, with the slashes and stuff. but we're just going to leave it to be the home page. So if we open up Firefox and type in, oh god, oh, hang on, okay, and we type in localhost, and we see that our servers responded, and it's right here. You see, this is the home page, just like we told it to when we visit the home page. We can change the port, you know, like 8070, let's say 8070. So we restart the server, and if we refresh, we'll see that it doesn't work. See, it doesn't work because we're no longer listening on port 80. So 8070, that's a colon right there, and there it works. I mean, trust me, it works. Watch. Oops. There, see? So we changed the port to something else. Let's change it back to 80. And so next, what we're going to do now, we're only talking to the server locally on this machine, but let's do it so that you know, we can talk to it over the internet. And so we're going to do that next. We're going to contact this server with the REST interface that we just set up, and we're going to talk to it over the internet. We're going to actually talk to it from, you know, right here. We're going to reach that endpoint. This one right here. We're going to reach this from this browser right here. Now, how do we do that? Okay. Now, when you created your server, you had a security policy that you attached to it. Remember that? That security policy, Launch Wizard 6? I swear to you, that's what it's called. You know, it has that RDP port. And so what we're going to do is you're going to click on that, and we're going to add a port that will allow us to communicate with the server over the web browser. And so just click Edit right here. We're in the security group policy. Here's the here's the security policy, and here's the RDP port that we've been connecting with over the remote desktop. You know, this right here. Well, we're going to add another port, and the reason why is so that we can communicate with the server. It's behind this Amazon firewall, and we're going to add an exception to the firewall for our server using this security group. Click Edit, and there's a bunch of presets here, and they'll just fill it in for you. Port 80, you know, for HTTP. And so you can just type all that in manually if you want to. Honestly, you know, custom rule, type in 80. It's just convenience, okay? And we're going to do that, I guess. Okay, so we're listening on port 80, our server right here. Okay, port 80, see, right here. And so that's what we're going to type in. And the the source, we're going to accept traffic from any source. And that's what this means right here. The description is optional. You don't have to type anything. Alright, so port 80, accept all connections. Save. And alright, well, hopefully it didn't just get rid of the other rule that we were just using for RDP. Oh, what? Alright, well, if you did that, oh, you gotta click Add Rule. Click that. And choose, you know, I gotta add RDP back in. It's here somewhere. I know it is. Ah, found it. And so I'm just gonna do that. So that RDP is added back in for my server. Watch, it'll come back. See? So there you go. I mean, just in case if you messed up just then, you know, that's what you did. Okay, so port 80 is now forwarded. It's now operational. Now, there might be another step we have to do. Let me see just right now if everything works just fine. Now, go back to your instances, okay, right here, and you got your server, and you got your IP address right here. Just copy that, okay? And now go to File, or open up a new tab, and just put it in right there. And guess what? We do have another step. So go back in. Now we opened up the port in the security group. So now we gotta go into the control panel and add an exception to the firewall. If I can frickin' find it, that is. Oh wait, found it. And just click Advanced Settings. Inbound rules right here. And you want to add a new rule. You want to add a new port. Click Next. Keep it on TCP and just put 80 right there. So we need to forward the port inside the operating system and also the port within the security group in Amazon. We just did Amazon and now we're doing the operating system. Click Next. Allow the connection, or you can just block it outright, you know, depending on what you want, but we're allowing the connection. And just leave all those checked. You can name it HTTP 80. Port 80 for Node.js server. You can do whatever you want here. And there, port 80 is now forwarded right there. We got the security group with port 80 within Amazon, which we just did. And now when I refresh this page, or this URL, no, God. And there you go. There you go. It works. See, it's right here. This is the home page. We just did it. It's from the internet using the IP address of the server. There's other options that you can do. You can associate this IP address with a domain name. If you go on GoDaddy, for instance, and purchase a domain name, there's settings within your GoDaddy account that will allow you to associate this right here with a domain name that you purchase. Or you can do that very same thing through Route 53. You can purchase your domain name and do everything through Amazon and associate your server's IP address within the Route 53. We're not doing that. Okay, that's a bit, it's easy. It is, it really is easy. Amazon has guides for all this stuff. But look, see, you can do all your domain name managing all through here. So anyway, we got our server running. Our REST interface is online. But let's do other things to it. Okay, so we can close the firewall rules. Just remember that you set a port in there in case you need to make any changes to it. So let's add another endpoint because we can do that. I'll call this one stuff. Okay, so we added another endpoint, but we're going to do something special with this endpoint. We're going to send some parameters to it. Okay, we're going to send some data to it. Rather than just calling an endpoint and having this respond back, we're going to send some data to it. Okay, and so I'm just going to type a comment right here, and the format of our URL is going to be stuff. You know, in the address bar, when we type it, let me just type this all out and I'll show you what it is. Okay, so the way that this reads is we're going to send data to the stuff endpoint, and it's going to be user ID and name. Okay, these are two things that we're going to just send, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm just gonna copy this right here. This is a comment, by the way. It's not code. I'm just showing you stuff. Okay, and so we're going to send this data. So we're going to call the server, the stuff endpoint, and the question mark here means where. And so it's going to be, you know, IP address / stuff, where the user ID equals 12, and the name that we're going to send is Bob. You can call these anything. You know, these are just names of things that I decided to use. Okay, this isn't dependent upon Node.js or anything like that. So let's go back into the server, and we're going to just intercept this data. Okay, I'm going to create a variable here. I'll just call it user ID. And we're going to access the request object right here. This is the incoming request. And it's called a query. What we're doing is called a query. Okay, so let's go through this really quick. So user ID, we're getting that right here. Hang on. There. User ID. Okay, we're getting that right there. We're going to store it in this variable here, and we're going to get the name that we're a name that we're sending, and we're just I'm just gonna copy and paste that part here, and I guess I'll just output it to the console. No, in fact, we'll just send it in a response. And that's it. So we're going to respond just like this right here. We're going to respond with a string that says you typed the user ID, and then we're going to have that right there with the name displayed like that. Easy, no problem. And so we need to restart our server because we made some changes. The port, we're now listening at port 80, and so let's call that endpoint, sending this data right here. And so there you have it. You typed and it responded. The server responded. Okay, we sent it a request and it sent a response. You typed the user ID 12 with the name Bob. And so that's an example of using a REST API with a GET endpoint, okay, using a query string. And so we'll just change this and just do whatever, you know. See? Oh, we made changes to the server. We just restart it. I remember Control-C to restart. See? Little space right there. See? And so our server is online, and it's you know, processing the requests that we've outlined here in the you know, in the web server as we specified here. So let's you know, I want to put a method here that fires each time the server gets a request. regardless of what endpoint it's being sent to. And the way to do that is just like this. And keep in mind, this has to go at the very top. Okay? So let's take a look here. Yeah. So this particular method has to go at the very top of all of your routes. Okay, that's just how it is. That's what you gotta do. And that's it. So every single time our server gets a request, the console will tell us. So watch. I'm gonna do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And we're going to just refresh. See? There's one last thing that we got to do. So there's a third parameter right here, just like that. There. Now, you see here how it only has 2 parameters and this one has 3. And so when you do response.send, that ends the request. And so what we were doing before was the request wasn't being allowed to proceed into the other route that we were trying to call. And so that's why the server wasn't responding earlier, but now it is. You just put a third parameter here, and it's optional. It's called next, and you just call next, and it is allowed to proceed into your other routes that you're trying to call. Okay. The next is called implicitly when you use response.send. Okay, so let's create another route. Here's a different kind of route right here. And the way that you do this one is, unlike a query string, what about the URL path itself? We can get elements from that path too. Watch, I'll even show you. And we'll just call this one ID. And then we'll pass a function. Like that. And so we can get that ID that we're sending. And then okay, so we can call this anything we want. In fact, let's call it, now we'll just call ID. And so, sort of like this, request.query, but in this case it's params. And so request.params, and we can get the ID parameter that we've named it right here. And we'll just put it in the variable here. And we'll send it back. So let's restart our server and open up a new tab. Okay, so the other route works just fine, and then we'll do another one here, and there it is. So you can send back. You can use URLs to determine different locations of your server script and stuff like that. See? And so this right here is being printed right here because it's being sent back in the browser. And so that is pretty much a very broad overview of how to build a REST interface. You've got other HTTP methods. We've used GET, but there's also head, put, post, delete, command options. And so, yeah, we're not going into these. These require a bit more setup, but overall, what you see here is pretty much the gist of how to create a REST interface using Node.js. And so at this point, I'm pretty much gonna take a break. Maybe I'll show you how to upload files, okay? How to use Post, you know, to upload data and files, kind of like this as well, but also files. If you want to know how to upload files, okay, how to do Post from a web page, you know, that uploads a file, then just leave a comment in the description. If there's interest, then I'll do it. Until then, I'm going to check out this video, just to let you know what I'm up to let you know that I'm not dead or anything. I found something here called Scale Busting Babes 34, and it was released in 2009, and this stuff right here is pretty crazy. I've only caught like a small glimpse of it, but it's basically this dude who nails like fat chicks.
Where did everybody go?
Like, check this number out.
Excuse me?
I was supposed to give out this trophy for a badminton competition.
Oh, the badminton tournament.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, the badminton
that's
tournament.
tomorrow.
Shit.
Oh, you have the wrong day. That's tomorrow.
Oh,
I mean, do I dare skip forward?
yeah.
Oh.
No.
Well, anyway, this is what I'm going to be checking out. Oh, Jesus H. Christ. I hope this doesn't violate the terms of service. So anyway, thank you for checking out this tutorial from 4chan Tutorials.